All right, good morning, everybody. It's Bill Hurrelbrink from KCTV5 News this morning, and First Warn 5 meteorologist Greg Bennett here covering what, again, is a lot of snowfall that is coming through the area. It's causing a lot of issues out on the highways. It's causing several issues for schools closing once again. So we're going to do our best to give you the latest updates as they happen here through the 7 o'clock hour here on our streaming platforms, online, on Facebook, on YouTube. So, again, thank you for joining us for this extra coverage here. Greg, I want to first go to you. Talk a little bit about just this winter weather advisory that we're under until 9 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, you know, this had everything to do with this frontal boundary system that rolled through, right? We were dealing with heavy to moderate snow showers and not just light snow shower activity. Seeing the accumulation on the roadways, even my drive into work from K7 to 70 and then going through the Roland Park area, it was well worthwhile that we needed to increase the alert to the situation here. So what we did is that we tacked on a first warning for this morning. And I think we're going to keep that going all the way up to the extension of the winter weather advisory here, right? That's going to hopefully lift by about 9 a.m. But that's what we saw. We saw a good chance here to bring in some snow showers ranging anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches of accumulation. And it just turned out we might be getting just a little bit more than just that inch in certain areas where we thought we were going to get 1 inch and still keep those 3 inches where we thought we were going to see 3 inches. Obviously, this has wreaked havoc in certain spots of the metro, especially when we talk about I-435, maybe around the south and eastern, sections of the metro.
Yeah, definitely, and that's where we've seen a lot of issues out on the roads. I do want to take you out there. Here, we'll get a scout camera pulled up for you here in just a second. Because that is where we're seeing several problem spots. And unfortunately, this morning's drive has turned deadly. It's a crash that happened a little bit after 3 o'clock this morning. It was on westbound 435 on the ramp to 103rd Street. KCPD telling us that the car left the roadway, unfortunately killed 2 people that were inside of that car. They're still on the scene now investigating, so we're seeing a couple of lanes closed here on westbound 435. That is the headlights that you can see moving towards the camera. And again, that's causing big delays down there. This is not the only crash that I'm following this morning. There are several more. And the similarity that all of these crashes seem to have is they're happening on the on and off ramps of the metro interstates and the highways. There's a couple working over off I-35 and 119th Street over in the Olathe, Kansas area, 71 Highway near 39th Street, the Bruce R. Watkins. The good news, Greg, is kind of how you're showing us here, how radar sits up here, is this was an event that's moving out to the southeast. A lot of our northern communities, they didn't see as much snowfall. So up there, we're seeing roads in decent shape. So if you're headed up to, let's say, the airport this morning, there are a few cancellations and delays up there, but so far I-29 up in that area looks okay. So that's good news there. We do have KCTV5's Grace Smith live in the First Warn 5 weather tracker. We're going to try to bring her in here real quick. Grace, we got you up. Can you kind of give us an idea of what you're seeing out there? I may not have your audio right now, Grace, so just give me a moment, but just kind of talk, and if you can just show us maybe some road conditions there as well.
Well, we are approaching downtown on Main Street, so I'll go ahead and turn this around for you guys. You can see that the roads, they look very clear. The plows have done a good job to kind of scrape that snow to the side, but what's left is slush. So that is what's really creating the mess for us that we're seeing out on these roadways, because, as people get out on the road too, the lanes are all different. So kind of people are driving where, normally you wouldn't. So it's just kind of a mess, and that is what it's creating. And so my advice would be to please just take it very slow, especially as you're approaching lights like this one here. We've had to, put on our brakes well in advance and keep the distance. That is the main key as well. We were talking earlier about just how important that is. And you can see to my left here, there are snow plows. So they're here getting the job done. So please leave them plenty of room. But that is the main thing, that this slush is just really creating kind of just inconvenience, and maybe, even causing our tires to spin a little when especially you're turning. So that is the big message this morning that I have seen, and it's been all over as well. We've covered everywhere, basically all the main highways, the roadways, that sort of thing. And we're seeing this exact same condition on all of these roads this morning, Bill.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed from all of your shots here all morning long, Grace, is that snow is piled up just inches for where people are driving 30, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour next to it, and I'm just so nervous that people will merge just a little bit. That might cause you to have to go into that snowbank, and then all of a sudden you lose control at speed, and it becomes a very dangerous situation. But again, you can see our Grace Smith in the First 4 and 5 weather tracker here. Her live pictures coming to you not too far from the Western Auto Building, just north of Crown Center, heading towards the downtown area. Again, these are a live look at what the streets are looking like here. And again, unfortunately, this has been already a deadly morning for us, as 2 people killed in a crash just off of 435 and 103rd Street on the city's south side. Grace, we'll check back in with you here in just a few moments. But again, thank you for your live shot there this morning. And Greg, man, It has just been a heck of a time out there here this morning as this snow continues to move through. One thing I did want to do real quick here, if you haven't heard from your school district yet, which I know a lot of them even called out yesterday already.
That's
but
true.
We got a plethora of them come in at 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning. Go to kctv5.com/closings. There is a huge list of all of the roads that are impacted, or excuse me, all of the schools and school districts that are impacted by this. As you can see, we're probably close to 100 or better closings across the metro right now.
Yeah.
And that includes churches and school districts and some businesses and some other activities for different people around town as well. Again, all that is online for you at kctv5.com/closings. But the good news, Greg, at least if we can look at maybe a cup half full on this, is that snow is moving out now.
Yeah, that's going to be the plus here. I mean, it really is. We're just about done with any kind of actual frozen precipitation to the metro. I think Lee Summit is under some very light flurry action, but the rest of us from downtown Kansas City, right, we've got Overland Park, we've got Independence up there. We're finally starting to see some clearer weather. But there we go, just a little bit of flake flies left around Unity Village and Lee Summit, around Vale. To your point there, Bill, it's these on-ramps and off-ramps, and I think that what we have going on here is just a little bit of overconfidence today, right? We had this big, huge snowstorm that impacted us. We saw copious amounts of snow, and we were very cautious in that and trying to stay safe when we had to get up there, 24 hours after the storm system. But now that we're dealing with such minimal on the roadways, you think, I'm going to go ahead and put the pedal to the metal and get up onto that on-ramp, right, onto the interstates. And normally you're trying to go with traffic, which is going 60 to 75 miles an hour. So you really punch the gas coming off of that on-ramp. The same thing goes for getting off of the interstate, right? You're trying to put down on the brakes pretty hard, right, because you're going 75 miles an hour. Well, the problem with this is we've got very little flake flyage on the actual roads, but it's plenty enough to lose some type of traction with your wheels. And obviously when you get to a point where you're accelerating too quickly or maybe braking too quickly, you can get into a situation where you lose control of the vehicle, and you might have a situation, well, unfortunately, something like this.
Exactly. And Greg, this is exactly to your point about those on-off ramps. This is right there at the interchange of K10 and 435. This is in the westbound direction. So folks merging on from 435 on the westbound K10, from Woodland onto K10. A new crash just happened here moments ago. You can see that car sideways there in the bottom side of your picture. Maybe hit one of those snowbanks or something, lost control, and got sideways. And unfortunately, one of the things that we've seen, Greg, is when cars do this over the last couple days, now maybe not the case so much today, is they'll lose that traction with their wheels, but all of a sudden then they'll hit a dry section of pavement, those wheels grip again, and then the car rolls.
Right.
And we've had several rollover crashes here over the last couple of days in similar areas to this. I know southbound 435 near 210 Highway was a big issue, problem spot the last 2 days in a row. 119th Street, I-35 gave us some problems. K10 out here has given drivers a lot of problems. And again, today's issues still seem more centered on the south side of the metro.
Right. Folks
up north of the river, north of I-70, I still want you to be very careful today, as we've seen school closures up there, including Park Hill's gone to their AMI learning day, the digital learning days there, and some other folks up north of the river. But again, still want you to be very careful, because despite the great work by all the plow crews out there, we've had enough wind and again just enough of this compaction of the snow that's still making a lot of these on and off ramps just really treacherous here this morning. We can kind of give you another look here at some of the streets in Midtown. This is the First Warn 5 weather tracker cruising up portions of Midtown headed for the city, glazed with ice, snowpack, and just not a really pretty picture. And I really think pictures like this, pictures like those scout cameras, Greg, really validate the superintendent's decision
100%
to probably call off school today, despite us parents being like, this is the 5th day in a
Like,
row
please.
that these kids are staying home. At this rate, they're going to be in school to the middle of June.
Well, see, and that's the thing, right? That was the other side of this, is that you're losing your snow days and then some. You've got to make them up at some point. So, parents, obviously, you're dealing with it now, but then the kiddos going into what would be their summer break, it's not necessarily going to be their summer break. No. But that was wild to see. We've got the storm tracker out there, and you saw those snowbanks right there, and even getting onto the road, there's not much, but there's some patches there of like you could get into some ice. Those cars going over a little bit of that snow compacts that snow. We've got plenty of cold temperatures out there. Everything's below freezing. So if you just don't have enough brine or salt in a particular spot on that roadway, you're going to actually compact that snow into ice and have yourself another issue. Here's one right here.
Yeah, and you were talking about some of the temperatures. These are our feel-like temperatures right now. So this is factoring in the wind chill with how cold it is outside. So this snow, like you've said before, it's going to be here for a while. So I don't think this is the last day of some of these problem spots that we've been seeing.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that, Bill. And by the way, we're not done. We've got more on the way for our weekend. Now, granted, the temperatures are going to be a little bit better for us for an opportunity of a winter mix, but that could be even wreaking more havoc than just having snowfall, right? Because at least we can prepare for snow. We're ready for this. We understand the implications. When we get into a winter mix, it's almost like, kind of a randomness on what you're going to get on the roadways in this kind of a situation. Not only that, but then the temperatures fall dramatically after this event. So we're talking about the opportunity for refreeze every single morning that we go through into next week.
All right, well, tell you what, let's get back out to our Grace Smith in the First Warn 5 weather tracker here again. I think, Greg, we're going to have to cut you loose because you have a cut-in coming up during CBS Mornings here in just a moment.
Sure.
We're going to stay streaming online here. Grace, I'm bringing you live here now onto the stream right now. You are live. So I know you guys are a little bit closer to downtown. We've been kind of showing the interstates and some of the other on and off ramps to places where we're seeing a lot of problem spots here this morning. Kind of give us an update about what you're seeing there around the downtown area.
Yeah, Bill, same conditions. Let me go ahead and flip this camera around for you. You can see that the roadways, they are clear of the snow, but as we've been mentioned, we're just at the intersection of Benton Boulevard and Truman Road here. And you can see, as you guys have been talking about those snowbanks on the side, and I want to give you a better look here of just how thick that those snowbanks really are and how easy it is, especially with these lanes closed in, how easy it is to maybe just drive a little bit on top of them, and then that's what's creating these messes that we're seeing out here. But as you can see, and I'll go ahead and switch that camera out, the roadways, they are clear of that snow, but then we're dealing with this slush, and really this has been our vantage point since all morning, since 4:30 this morning. This is exactly what we've been seeing, these slushy, slick conditions. And anytime you turn, you're at risk of spinning those back wheels out, and that has happened to us numerous times. So we've had to stop well in advance, leave ourselves plenty of room between us and the cars in front of us. And as you can see, cars, I have seen some cars that are zooming by, but then others, they are driving very slow because they just kind of don't know exactly what to expect out here. But these snowbanks on this side, they do pose a huge risk, especially on these larger roadways where more cars are traveling, more lanes are available. It just kind of is risky out here for, it has been all morning, but we are seeing cars kind of taking that into consideration here this morning as more cars get out and people head to work, Bill.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Grace, is I know you've been on a lot of the busier streets. Have you been over into any of the neighborhood streets? Because we saw a lot of these neighborhood streets did not have any plow coverage to them, or if they did, it was minimal. And now you add maybe an inch to 3 inches of new snow on it overnight. I wonder if any folks are having some issues just getting out of their own neighborhoods again here this morning.
Right, Bill. So we'll take right here on Jackson Avenue, and I'll show you here. We have seen that when it comes to neighborhoods, yes, there's more snow on them. As you can see, I'll go ahead and pan this way, give you this point of view. But yeah, they are a lot more slick, and you can see right there, they're not totally clear from that snow. So that is true when it comes to these neighborhood roads. Just being very careful, especially as you're leaving your driveway. You can still see that snow piling up, at the end of your driveway there. So that is a main concern here. But we are seeing, I can tell you, snow plows headed out. We've seen them all morning. We've seen them in groups, so they are out here, and we've even seen them tackle some of these residential areas.
All right, well, that's good to hear. I'm glad people are out there getting some more snow plows there on some of the side streets, hoping to get those clear. So I know a lot of people still have to get out to work this morning, no matter what those conditions are. Grace, thank you for driving around, kind of keeping us up to date about what's going on. Well, I know you're going to get on TV here with Greg, I think, here in just a moment as well. So you guys stay safe. We'll check in with you here in just a few. That's our Grace Smith live in the First Warren 5 weather tracker here this morning. And again, just another tough go about it here around town this morning. Want to welcome everybody in on Facebook, just joining us here now on our extended coverage here of yet another snowy day in Kansas City. We had a little system come through last night that brought us a little bit of additional snowfall, and what we can expect is slow go out on the morning commute. We've seen several school districts call in as of just about 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning. Make sure you go to kctv5.com/closings. That will get you the latest up-to-date list of closings. And unfortunately, we also seen a tragic morning here in Kansas City as 2 people are dead following a car crash that happened on westbound 435 on the ramp to 103rd Street. So again, want you really to be careful out there on the interstates. I do want to take one of our scout cameras here this morning. This is a live look at the Grandview Triangle. This is what is happening behind that deadly crash this morning. They've got a couple of lanes blocked. You can see the folks over at the Scout Center. They're trying to focus the camera in on maybe something that's happened in the backup of this crash. This car hauler has been sitting there since Monday. That thing has been stuck in that snowbank since Monday, and it's still sitting there to this day, and folks are just crawling past it here this morning as they are trying to get to work. Again, want to thank you for joining us for some extended coverage here on KCTV5.com, on our Facebook page, YouTube page, and all of our streaming apps. Thank you for joining us and trusting us to get you the latest information on, again, this extra snowfall that we've gotten here overnight that's creating some big problem spots out on the highways, the side streets here this morning, as we can see plenty of delays as a lot of brake lights are wrapped up all the way back through the triangle, back onto 470, back onto I-49 here in portions of the metro. Now, Greg and Grace and Samantha, they're all giving us a live update now here anytime on KCTV5 on air. So we'll have them back on our live stream here shortly. And then about 9 o'clock this morning, we'll bring you some additional coverage on KCTV5 on air as well. As again, we're seeing a lot of issues come from just this little amount of snowfall that we got overnight. Again, we forecasted about 1 to 3 inches of snow coming through. It looks like that's just about what we got. Maybe some heavier snowfall amounts just down to our south. This is a live look over at I-35 and 119th Street. Again, just some of these common problem spots that we're seeing all across town as those on and off ramps, those shoulder areas of the highways that are giving us some issues. Ron is commenting here on the Facebook stream that we need some good news. Well, Ron, I think Greg said here just a bit ago that once this system leans out of here, we have a little small chance for some more snowfall over the weekend, but after that, a little bit quieter of a pattern moving in here, so that's some good news as well. If you also go to KCTV5.com, there's a great good news story from our Marlia Campbell. Went out, found a gentleman who had seen Jalen Watson with the Kansas City Chiefs put out a request for somebody to come bring him a snow shovel so he could shovel his own driveway. This gentleman said, "No, sir. You are a Chiefs player heading into the playoffs. You don't need to be doing stuff like that. Let me come out and do it for you. He went out there, shoveled his driveway, got a jersey for his efforts. So if you want to go to KCTV5.com, there's a lot of good news stories there for you of a lot of people doing a lot of great work coming out of this winter weather that we've seen here in Kansas City. Again, this is a live look from the First Warn 5 mobile weather, or First Warn 5 weather tracker, cruising through some side streets. The good news here, this is over in Kansas City, Missouri. I believe they're off Benton, not too far. I think they're about ready to go underneath I-70 there. We're seeing just some slush out there on this major road in Kansas City, but again, it does look passable. Again, the problem spots really seem to be on those shoulder areas of the interstates, those on and off ramps to the interstates. That's where we've seen several of our problem spots here this morning. Again, I want to remind everybody that there was unfortunately a deadly crash just a little bit after 3 o'clock this morning. It was out on westbound 435, the ramp to 103rd Street, and first responders remain on that scene here as of this morning. Right now, this is a live look there, still investigating this accident. Police telling us that just after 3 o'clock, a car went completely off of the road in this location. Now, it does look like they have reopened the ramp there. We just lost our scout feed for one reason or another, but if you did notice there, I saw what looked like a crane. Now, this car went completely off the road there, so I wonder if they're trying to remove that vehicle right now. We'll go ahead and see if we can't find that live picture for you again. It may just not be working here this morning as they're trying to remove that car. We'll go back into the triangle again, and you can just see lots of slow traffic trying to get out of 470 here this morning, get out of Lee Summit, get over to some of the main roads here. Let me go ahead. I'm going to try to pull up some of our traffic maps to give you a better look at what those are looking like here this morning. Give me just a second here. There we go. Oh, Greg is back. Greg, maybe you want to give us an update here while I'm trying to do some of the technical stuff around here, kind of give us an update about what you're seeing here weather-wise across the metro.
Well, good news is that we're finally starting to see less impact for snow actually coming out of the sky for us. Still dealing with a little bit of very light flurry action near the Lee Summit area, but it's just about finished off. The rest of us downtown, Mission, Shawnee Mission, Lenexa, all the way up towards Parkville and obviously KCI. We are looking in the clear for any kind of snow to continue to fall for us. Now, it's still going to be a gray morning. We're going to deal with the wind on the mild side at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. It's still cold out the door. We've got temperatures in the 20s right now. Feel like it's in the low and mid 20s. So it's still going to be worthwhile to put on that winter gear, and that includes the snowshoes, and then obviously making sure that you're giving yourself ample time to get from point A to point B if you have to do that this morning, especially with the road conditions we have been dealing with.
All right. Well, tell you what, we're going to bring up your weather computer here in just a little bit. We'll do a little more deep dive into the forecast as we're going into this weekend, because I know we're not done with our snow chances entirely as we go through the weekend. And the last thing we want is another kind of an issue like we're dealing with right now. Let's take you out to some of those roads here. I do want to give you a live look here. These are real-time road conditions that we're seeing that are coming through our traffic system right now. What I can show you here is traffic out of the triangle running very slow this morning, again, because of all of that activity on that ramp westbound 435 to 103rd Street. That's the first exit ramp off of the triangle as you head west over towards State Line. And you can see it all the way jammed back through the triangle onto portions of I-49 and westbound 470. Elsewhere, let's take you around a couple of other spots around town. 71 Highway was giving drivers a lot of fits earlier this morning as well. We saw crashes near 39th Street, crashes near the Paseo, crashes near Cleaver Boulevard. It looks to have improved a little bit. Now, keep in mind, you got a lot of those stoplights up there on that highway as well as you go from the triangle to the downtown buildings. As you approach those stoplights, I want you to be really careful, because a lot of people will try to stop. They won't be able to stop. They may be sliding through some of those interchanges, those intersections, and that could be causing some accidents right in front of you as well. You can also see westbound I-70 running pretty slow there on the Jackson curve, headed for the Benton curve and eventually the downtown buildings. Let's zoom around a couple of other spots here around town just to give us a look here. Kansas side, couple crashes working down in the Olathe area. One of those is on the ramp to 119th Street from southbound I-35. The other one looks to be a northbound crash, and you can see definitely some delays there back towards Santa Fe, 135th Street. Even back towards the hospital there at 151st Street, still running pretty slow, as is K7 over there on the west side of town. And it looks like maybe have a new crash here along that K10, K7 interchange. We'll go ahead and look for a scout camera in just a little bit on that one. But I do want to get up for folks in the Northland. I don't want you to think that we're skipping you guys at all. But the fact is, you got a little bit less snowfall up there. So as you can see, your roads actually doing quite a bit better there north of the river, especially north of that I-29-35 split. Looks like folks are running pretty good up there. However, it does look like we got a couple of stalls up near the airport. So if your travels take you up to the airport this morning, I know a couple people who are headed to the airport this morning trying to head to maybe a few warmer locations around the continent. Hopefully you guys get out of town okay if you're watching this right now. Let me get you back over to the computer here. Just one spot you may want to look at this morning if you're just now getting up and checking your watch. And you're like, oh man, I didn't set an alarm last night. I wonder if the kids have school today. Well, the more than likely, if they're on the south side of the metro, they don't. These are a live look at all of the closings we have around town here, and we have got dozens upon dozens of them, and not over 100 closings of schools and events here all across town for today. Some are delayed, I will give you that, like the Trailview Montessori. They're running on a 90-minute delay today. The University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg, they're opening late at 10 o'clock this morning. There are some churches and nonprofits that have stuff closed as well. Closed for today, Northland Meals on Wheels out of North Kansas City. It looks like the KCK Housing Authority will be delayed a little bit longer as well, till about 9 o'clock this morning. Also, some schools, we didn't have this before 2020, Greg, going to virtual learning today. That includes the Guadalupe Center and Hamilton R2 School District. You guys are doing virtual learning today. Fort Osage on virtual learning Friday, AMI. Some of the activities at First United Methodist in Kearney have been canceled for today. And again, for a full laundry list of these, all you got to do is go over to KCTV5.com and you click on the closings tab, and that will get you what you need to know. All right, Greg, let's get back to you with maybe a little bit of look at some weather forecast. You tell me what you want to see here, and I will try to dial that up for you over on Max One. Oh, I got to punch a couple more buttons here before we can get to that. Stand by just a second.
Oh, that's totally fine. Just to remind everyone, when it comes down to both Bill and I as children, we need to put this in perspective for you that Bill used to have to dress up in like a suit and tie to go on a plane. So, when we're talking about flight delays and all that stuff, it just gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. Is it the 80s? Is that is that about right?
When my dad took us flying as kids, he made us dress up.
That's right.
I just remember that was a big to-do.
Sure.
But let's get back to the weather forecast, not about my childhood. I feel like I'm talking to my therapist here all of a sudden. Winter weather advisory in effect for about the next 90 minutes or so as this system is moving out of here. I'll go ahead and bring up some live radar right now, Greg, and tell folks what maybe they need to know as we go into this bottom of the hour here at 7 o'clock.
Well, first things first, I do believe that we are going to lift some of those winter weather advisories from the area. I believe we're going to lift them from the metro. However, our south and eastern counties, right? So we're talking Benton, Pettis counties, right on over towards Clinton, Warrensburg. I think you guys may still have to hold on to those winter weather advisories, maybe for about a half hour longer. That could be the situation that we're under as we just kind of sort of exit out this storm system. But I mean, you can see the different colorations that we have here, right? We go from whites to grays and then different variants of the hue of blue. The darker the blue you get, the heavier the snow shower activity is, right? So you can see over around Garden City, for example, that's probably the darkest blue that we'll get, maybe even around Butler, around I-49 there. That's probably where we're seeing the more moderate to heavier snow shower activity. Those could be those kind of thicker chunks of snow that are falling out of the sky, but there's a lot of it, so it could be low visibility on top of a significant accumulation that's going to occur. This, as we are looking at, right, over the past hour, that's all right, is a pretty good indication of how much accumulation we could see in a given area. And I honestly think that we could be talking about for especially maybe Butler and Garden City, they could be seeing another ½ inch to an inch of accumulation before they finally see the clearing of the entire system itself there. And again, this goes right to our forecast that we talked to you guys about for the past several days, that anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches of accumulation was looking more and more likely. And I definitely think that we're seeing those 3 inches or more, even from Warrensburg stretching down to Butler once this is all said and done. But we are done here to the metro of that snow. That's great. We're going to take a little bit of a reprieve in storm systems here, take a little bit of a breather. But by the time we make it into Saturday evening, we're going to get into another opportunity for more of a wintry mix, and that'll continue on into our Sunday. So we are not done yet.
All right. Thanks, Greg, for that. I do want to get back over to some of the roads here.
Yes.
Grace, if you can hear me, we'll come out to you here in the next couple of minutes. But let's take a look at some of the interstates here first, as again, we're seeing several problem spots, especially on the south side here this morning, coming off of the Triangle. Here's a live look at westbound 435, just to the west of the Triangle. Again, there was a deadly crash that happened here about a little after 3 o'clock this morning. Car got off the road and unfortunately killed 2 people. And you can see that they're still on the scene investigating this overnight crash. And with that, we're just seeing a lot of big delays through the Triangle. And Greg, I almost think this may be helping our drive on the south side. It's forcing people to slow down a little bit, forcing people to give some extra room between them and the drivers in front of them. And especially, again, on those on and off ramps, I cannot say enough how careful I want people to be at because of those compacted snow there, because of the ice that may be there. If there was any kind of thawing that happened yesterday, I know our temperatures got close to freezing and or above yesterday, so there may be a little bit of thaw and then some refreeze overnight that happened that just is causing some really slick spots. I know some people, Grace, on the Facebook feed have been asking for what downtown looks like. We're going to go ahead and bring her back live here in the First Warn 5 weather tracker this morning. Grace Smith giving us an update on some of the downtown roads here.
Hey, Bill, actually, we are on Highway 71 right now, but I can tell you that downtown we just left, and the roads were actually, they looked exactly like this here, where you see that they're clear, but as we've been talking about all morning long, there is that layer of slush that is just become a huge problem for just going a certain speed. We're going 33 right now, and that's appropriate because it's creating a mess out here, truthfully. And we just saw, in fact, a 4-car crash near 39th Street.
Yeah.
One car totally turned the complete opposite way. So police were there on scene, and everyone looked to be okay, thankfully. But yeah, their cars were banged up for sure. So we are coming across some crashes, especially on Highway 71 here, as more cars are driving close together, and especially with those snowbanks encroaching in. So the lanes, it's not what we're used to. And I think that is the main thing here, Bill, as you've been mentioning. We got to watch out for that, because as you can see, it's kind of hard because on both sides of the highway here, we have that snow and mud and slush, and the car in front of me is going through it right now. So that's a threat to your tires. They can, cause you to go certain ways that you don't want to go. So that is what we're seeing out here on the roads right now, Bill.
All right, yeah, and I can see you guys coming up to a stoplight there, one of the ones, the many along the Bruce R. Watkins there. And one of the problems, again, you just said we saw a crash there at 39th Street, 4 cars involved, and that's what I was going to ask, if you had seen that crash, and unfortunately, yeah, you have. But I can see you just, when the weather tracker is merging lanes there, having to go through some of that snowpack, and coming up to those stoplights, just could create a really tricky scenario for a lot of folks out there. Grace, thank you for that update. We appreciate it. We'll check back in with you here in a little bit. I know you have another hit on air coming up here in about the next 15 minutes or so. So we're going to let you go to get ready for that, and we'll keeping on here on Facebook, on streaming platforms, on YouTube. Again, want to thank you, everybody who is joining us there on those devices here this morning. And I will take you out here for another couple of looks around town, because, again, those crashes that Grace was talking about there on 71 Highway, not the least of our worries. There's still several other crashes happening around town. As a matter of fact, our KC Scout cameras zooming in on this new one that just happened. This is going to be along 435 Lackman Road. Again, looks like somebody maybe got off on some of the shoulder areas there and found themselves in a tricky situation. Now Highway Patrol is on scene with them, looking towards the front of their car. And again, Greg, when we see crashes like that, it's not only the crash that's the issue, then the first responder shows up. has to get
Right.
out of their car.
Right.
Everybody else sees that activity, then has to merge over to maybe somewhere that's not as treated as the lane that they've been in. So it just causes like just ancillary problems that kind of keep snowballing as folks are trying to get out on the roads this morning.
Yeah, that's very much a true story. You know, it's that whole domino effect. But like you just said, yeah, which why by the way was kind of appropriate, the snowball effect here.
Exactly.
That was it.
Whoops.
Hey, listen, guys. You know, by the way, we're still tracking this all morning long for you. We're going to be wrapping up within the next 5 minutes here because we've got a fresh newscast that we are putting together that we're trying to make for you so we can continue coverage live on air. That's going to be happening at 9 a.m. Normally, that's my KC Live. No, we're going to break in with that programming and do another newscast with you guys, continuing to track the issues and concerns out on the roadways and what's happening with our weather as we move forward through the next couple of days here too. So if you do have an opportunity after this streaming at around 9 a.m., please, by all means, check us out actually on television, KCTV5. We're going to have more coverage and more information on what's going on out there, more details overall.
All right, here's another live look from one of our city cameras across the metro. This is north side of the downtown loop. Again, just a lot of snowfall out there, but at least the good news is you can see the pavement on there.
Yeah.
Travel is possible today. It's not restricted like it was earlier
Correct.
this week over the weekend, but still, as we've been seeing, several crashes out there across the metro area. A lot of them are on the south side of town, 435 loop south side there, I-35 down near Olathe, 69 highway, seeing some problems, as is K10. I mean, we're approaching the busiest part of the morning rush hour here. Really between 7:30 and 8 o'clock is when we see things really tick up. Again, this is just a live picture from our First Warn 5 weather tracker as it's cruising through portions of town. They were on 71 highway here just a little bit ago. Looks like they're doing okay. Portions of that street look to be going, I think they jumped off on 63rd Street is what I saw, so I think this is 63rd Street that they're showing us. Here's some live pictures along I-70 out by the sports complex. Again, this right here doesn't look bad
Right.
at all, Greg.
Right.
But again, if you just look right into the shoulder areas of those, you find yourself drifting off the road. You can find yourself in a world of hurt in not too long a time. And again, let's check on a couple other cameras, city cameras that we have around town here that we can show you. This is 9 Highway up near the Briarcliff neighborhood. Looks pretty.
Yeah, don't want to be on it.
Don't really want to be out on it, you know. And I think that's one of the things I was sharing on TV this morning is that you and I drive to work at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
There's nobody else out on the roads then. So
True
we
story.
have the luxury, if we lose control, we're not going to hit anybody else.
That's
necessarily,
correct.
you know. But unfortunately, you get more and more folks out on the roads. Any type of little movement here or there can cause big issues out on the interstates and can hurt you, can hurt other folks out there driving, and just really want you to be careful out there. So appreciate everybody who has been joining us here this morning on Facebook and on YouTube and all of our streaming platforms. We're going to go get ready here to bring you another cut-in on air on KCTV5. We'll do that here in about 10 minutes, and as Greg mentioned, we're going to jump back on again here at 9 o'clock during My KC Live to bring you the latest coverage that we can here for this winter weather that continues to move through and cause some problem spots here in the Kansas City metro area. So, Greg, before we wrap this thing up, anything you got?
Yeah, just try to stay warm and take it easy. You could still drive, just be cautious.
That's right. All right, thank you so much for joining us here on this extra streaming edition here of KCTV5 News this morning. We'll be back on air here in about the next 10 minutes, and then we'll see you here at 9 a.m. Karen's asking if the 9 a.m. broadcast will be live streamed. I don't know, but I will ask the desk to see if they could take care of that for you. I believe we do live stream our stuff on KCTV5.com, so
Right.
if you want to go over there, you can check that show out there live stream. Justin, thank you for the kind words. Vincent, appreciate all your comments, and Doris says she hates winter. And Doris, I think I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
You know,
True story.
I don't know anybody who's just like loving this stuff right now, but all right. Well, thanks again for joining us here. Thank you again for trusting KCTV5 to bring you comprehensive coverage of this winter weather as it's moving through our area. We'll be back on TV here shortly with additional updates. Until then, stay warm, stay safe, take care of yourself and each other.